Hey there everybody, and welcome to this short video on the distributive property. Let's go ahead and walk through numbers 1 and 2 just to make sure you guys have a good idea how to do this. So starting with number 1. Okay, so the distributive property is what we do when there is a number out in front of some parentheses, like this. So usually in math, you always solve what's inside the parentheses first. But in this case, you can't because there's a variable inside there. So you can't solve what's in there before moving on to the next part of the problem. So here's what you do. You use the distributive property, and this is what it looks like. So you're going to take that number that's out in front. In this case, we have a 6 out in front, right? Now you're going to distribute it to the first term inside the parentheses, which in this case is negative 10b. And then you're going to distribute it to the second term in the parentheses, which in this case is a positive 10. Okay, so now what do I mean by distribute it? That's the question, right? That just means to multiply it. Here's how it works. Go ahead and draw your arrows first because they're super helpful. And then you're going to go to the next step, which is the multiplying. So see where we drew our first arrow? It connects the 6 to the negative 10b. So that means we're going to multiply 6 times negative 10b. Now to do that, let's see, 6 times negative 10, that's going to be negative 60. And then we're just going to write our b. So negative 60b. My 6 kind of looks like a b there. Sorry about that. That's a 60, a negative 60b. Okay, so now that was this times this. We have multiplied those two terms, and so the first half of our distributing is over. Let's do the second half, which is the second arrow. So now we do the 6 times the 10. And keep in mind it's a positive 10. If there was a negative sign here or a minus sign, then it would be a negative 10. So 6 times positive 10, as you know, is 60. I'm going to write that right here. Now, to figure out what goes between them, you just ask yourself, was this number positive or negative? In this case, it was a positive 60, so I'm going to put a plus sign there. Okay, now we are done with our distributing. All we have to do at this point is copy down the rest of the equation, so let's do that. Negative 240. And then we solve our equation. Okay, so we have negative 60b plus 60 equals negative 240. We need to get rid of this 60 first, so let's do it by subtracting it. Right now we're adding 60, so we're doing the opposite of adding to get rid of it. What is 60 minus 60? It's just 0, right? So we're just going to cross it out. It kind of goes away, which is perfect. That's what we want. So now we have negative 60b equals negative 240 minus 60 equals negative 300. And if you want to use a calculator and stuff like that, that's totally fine. Go for it. And I'll probably use a calculator on this next step. We're going to divide both sides by negative 60. Do you guys know why we're dividing by negative 60? Right, because we're trying to get rid of this number right here. Right now it's negative 60 times b because they're right next to each other, which means they're multiplying. And to get rid of multiplication, we have to do the opposite of multiplying, so we have to divide. So we're dividing by that negative 60, which is just going to make that disappear. It's going to make it turn into a 1, and 1b is the same thing as b. So basically, it just goes away. So we'll have b equals whatever that is equal to. So you can put it in your calculator if you want. Make sure you use those negative signs, unless you want to do that part in your head, which is fine too. And you're just going to get a 5. So b is equal to 5. Okay, let's do another example. So step 1, draw those arrows. So you're going to connect whatever is in front of those parentheses to each of the terms inside the parentheses. In this case, the 4 and the negative 10x. Whatever sign is there in the middle, make sure you think of it as being part of this term that follows it. So it's not just 10x, it's negative 10x. Okay, let's start distributing. 10 times 4, 40. All right, 10 times negative 10x. Okay, so 10 times 10 is 100. And don't forget the x. And because it was a negative 10, let's see, 10 times negative 10 is negative 100. So I should have put a negative sign right there. So 40 minus 100x. Did you get that? Good job. Okay, now you're going to finish writing down the equation equals negative 260. Okay, so we got to get rid of the 40 and we got to get rid of the negative 100. You should get rid of the 40 first because you always want to get rid of that number that's not attached to the x. Okay, so minus 40, minus 40. Okay, so you're left with negative 100x equals negative 300. This feels really similar to the last one with the negative 300. That's kind of weird, but it's okay. Now, what is going on here? We need to get rid of that 100x, the negative 100x. Right now it's multiplying to the x, so we're going to do the opposite, which is dividing. So we're going to divide by what we want to get rid of, which is just the negative 100. When you divide those, they become 1, and 1x is the same thing as x, so you're just going to write an x down here. Now, don't forget what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side also, so we're going to divide this side by negative 100 also. When you divide that out, you'll just get a 3. Okay, so that's how that's done. Do you want to try one more? If you feel good, just go ahead and do your assignment. If you want to try one more, stick with me. Let's try number 3. Here's what I suggest. Go ahead and pause your video right now. Do your work, at least on number 3. Just solve number 3, and then hit play again and see if you got the right answer. Okay, go ahead and pause it now. All right, so hopefully you just did your work and you got an answer. Let's see if it lines up with what we got. So we're going to distribute the 3, that's the number in front of the parentheses. We're going to distribute it to the 1 and to the negative 3a. So I'm going to just copy this part down. Negative 33 equals. Okay, now 3 times 1 equals 3. 3 times negative 3a equals negative 9a. How are you doing so far? Okay, what do we get rid of first, the 3 or the negative 9? We get rid of the 3 first because it's not attached to the a. We want to get rid of that number that's not attached to the a first. We're going to get rid of it by subtracting it. So negative 36 equals negative 9a. Now we're just going to divide by that negative 9 on both sides, and we'll have our answer. This is going to be 4, and this is going to be a. 4 equals a. If you got it, awesome work. If you want extra help on this, let me know, okay? Thanks so much for watching. Bye.